have slowly become our new quote unquote normal, this is actually not normal. We are still in the midst of a global health crisis. In acknowledging this, I want to say I'm stating a fact, but also just validating that if you're still having a hard time, still struggling, that's very normal because we are still in the midst of not just a national, but actually a global health crisis. I saw this meme online, and I think it's really it's very relevant. I think it really speaks to what we're going through. So if you're having a hard time, don't feel bad because we're still in July, August, and September. It's a really hard time. I'm excited to be here today because I have been on both sides since we shifted to our new academic normal in particular. So a little about me is that, as Sir Dwight mentioned earlier, prior to going to law school, I'm in my first year. I actually taught senior high, and last March, this year, just this year in March, we had to shift very abruptly before we began the last half of the semester. Looking back on that very fast transition, I'm sure you guys in ISAT also had to transition pretty quickly. I really did not think that we'd be entering into an entire school year of online classes again. But here we are. And now that I am also on the student side, as a student myself, I can say that the challenges are present whether you are a student or a teacher. So I want to focus this talk on sharing about the idea of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I kind of want to go big picture as opposed to giving you here are the tips that I found helpful, although I'm happy to share that too. But I think a really important kind of concept or idea that I've been trying to apply to my own life since I learned about this is this growth versus fixed mindset. And so I want to share this with you too as we enter into a new school year. So I want to begin by sharing this quote. This guy is a runner. His name is Tommy Rivs, and he says, "I try to find a way to make training a part of my everyday life. Figure out ways to make training not something that you dread, but something that you enjoy. If I do it that way, there's always going to be stress. But emotional stress isn't going to be one of the stresses. And if there's not emotional stress contributing to that total pool of stress for my training, if it's not something that I dread, if I'm not worried about hitting a certain pace or heart rate zone, then my total overall level of stress is lower, which means my cortisol levels are lower and my testosterone is higher. And then my mood is better and my energy is greater. All of the things that people are illegally doing to try to gain an advantage, you can get all of those same advantages by changing your perspective and mindset of what you're doing." So if you don't know who Tommy Rivs is, do not worry. I also did not know about him until I read an article about him and then also kind of looked him up on Instagram. So we don't know him. I didn't know him until I read about him. But in the trail running world, he is actually a really well-known runner. He runs not just marathons, but ultra marathons, is a doctor of physical therapy, endurance coach, all that to say this guy, Tommy Rivs, is super fit and healthy. But just recently, he was diagnosed with an undiagnosed respiratory issue. So they don't know what it is, but it put him in a coma for days and severely damaged his lungs. And it all happened so quickly. So one day, literally maybe last month, he was this fit running marathons, and now he is fighting for his life still. I share this because I think it's fair to say that being in law school for me, or for you guys being in senior high or college, cannot compare to what Tommy is going through. He is battling an aggressive form of cancer. But sometimes, especially when we are ranting to friends or our family about how hard things are, especially with the transition to online, the challenges of school can feel really insurmountable. When things are hard, for example, readings begin to pile up, you have quizzes and exams week after week. Maybe you have family or other relationship problems, and then internet issues pa. When things are hard, I want us to think about what is your internal monologue. Take some time to think about it. When things get hard and you feel pressure, what is your internal monologue? What are the things you tell yourself, whether you're conscious of them or not? While we all have internal monologues, often we are not aware of the things we tell ourselves because they're so ingrained in us. We don't even realize sometimes that we believe these things about ourselves, or we tell these things to ourselves unconsciously or otherwise, consciously or otherwise. Our internal monologues are so much a part of who we are that unless we take time to step back and identify what our internal monologues are, we might not even realize that there are things we tell ourselves or things that we just believe to be true that might not actually be true. Our belief systems are really, really powerful. What we tell ourselves, what we believe are really, really powerful. Debbie Millman once said, if you imagine less for yourself, less will also be what you undoubtedly deserve. So going back to my main thing today, which is sharing the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, this idea of growth and fixed mindset is actually one of the most groundbreaking psychological studies in recent years. This research, growth versus fixed mindset, was pioneered by Carol Dweck, who is a psychologist. And she mainly studies motivation, which is why people succeed or don't succeed, and most importantly, how to foster success. One of the most basic beliefs we carry about ourselves, Dweck has found, has to do with how we view and inhabit what we consider to be our personality. So I'm gonna help us kind of understand what fixed and growth is. So fixed mindset is, it's what I'm highlighting in the red box right now. When we have fixed mindsets, we believe that intelligence is static. So like we're born with our intelligence, we are born with our talents, and it's either we have it or we don't. So people with fixed mindsets tend to want to look smart, and therefore, because they want to look smart and want to look talented and want to feel like, and want to seem like things come really easy for them because they're naturally smart, this actually indirectly leads them to avoid challenges because there's no guarantees in challenges. Like you might succeed, you might not. And if you are wanting to just look smart, challenges are really scary. That's not something you want because there's no guarantee of success. If you have a fixed mindset and you believe that you're just born smart, born talented, you also have a tendency to give up easily. Because again, like challenges that have no guarantees of success, obstacles also don't guarantee success. And then also people who have fixed mindsets assume that their character, intelligence, creative ability are static givens, which you cannot change in any meaningful way. So success for them is the affirmation of that inherent intelligence. It's an assessment of those given measures, and striving for success and avoiding failure at all costs become a way of maintaining what your self-perception of being smart or skilled. On the other hand, growth mindset, which I now have up on this, I now have it highlighted in green. Growth mindset, as opposed to fixed mindset, you see your intelligence or your talents as something that's not fixed, but something that you are born with, yes, but also something you can improve on as you take on challenges and obstacles in life. So growth mindset, people with growth mindsets thrive on challenges and see failures not as evidences of not being smart, unintelligence, or not having talent, but instead they see the challenges and failures as a springboard for growth and for stretching our pre-existing abilities. So it's not that if you have a growth mindset, you believe that you don't have talent. You just believe that your talent and your intelligence aren't fixed. Instead, you can continue to get better as you take on challenges in life. So beyond kind of predicting academic success, fixed mindset and growth mindsets actually also impact our behavior, our relationship with success and failure, in both academic, professional, and personal contexts, and ultimately, even our capacity for joy and happiness in everyday life. So another way to kind of think about growth mindset, aside from what I just showed earlier, this chart here, is these statements. So if someone has a fixed mindset, you believe that you have to prove that you're smart. You have to show that things are easy for you, that you don't have to put in much effort to succeed. You're just naturally smart, naturally talented. And so your life is going to be the series of like really trying to always prove that you are smart and you are talented, and trying to prove that you don't have to work too hard for things because you're just naturally smart. A thing that you always kind of fall back on, your internal monologue might look like, will I fail? Will they think I'm dumb? Will I be a loser? Before you even attempt to do something. And also, if you have a fixed mindset, your internal monologue might be, if I fail, I'm less smart, not as talented anymore. On the other hand, if you are someone with a growth mindset, your internal monologues might sound like, I want to improve, I can grow through hard things. Your questions, instead of will I fail, it is, will I learn? Will I get better if I try this and that? Also, if I fail, I will learn and will know how to do things better next time. You are someone who believes in practicing and practicing and practicing and not being afraid of trying. So that's kind of how to differentiate in a simpler way what a fixed mindset is and what a growth mindset is. And of course, you can have both. We're all born with a natural tendency towards either like fixed or growth mindset, but we can always try to move towards more of a growth mindset as opposed to holding really tightly to a fixed mindset. So Dweck said that her research has shown that the view you adopt for yourself, that is your choice of mindset, whether fixed or growth, profoundly affects the way you lead your life. It can determine whether you become the person you want to be and whether you accomplish the things you value. So how does this happen? How can a simple belief, how can having either a fixed or growth mindset have the power to transform your psychology and as a result, also transform your life? The growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate through hard work, effort, trying, and not being afraid of failure. Although people may differ in every which way in their initial talents, aptitudes, interests, temperaments, if you have a growth mindset, you believe that everyone can change and grow through application and experience. Intelligence, talent is not just something you're born with, but is something that you can work on. So my question is, do people with the growth mindset believe that anyone can be anything just with like working hard and putting in effort? Do people with growth mindsets believe that everyone can be the next Einstein? I would say that that's not true. Instead, people who have growth mindsets just believe that a person's true potential is unknown and unknowable, that it's impossible to foresee what can be accomplished with years of passion, toil, and training. They don't believe that just if we shift from like fixed mindset to growth mindset, we'll all automatically become geniuses. But they just believe that we should believe in continuous growth and learning, because we don't really know what our potential is unless we try and unless we're not afraid to fail. So another way to think about it is, if you have a fixed mindset, you are like this turtle on the left side. So the turtle carved in stone. It's nice, it's really pretty, but it's dead. It's not like the turtle on the right side that's swimming and alive. If you have a fixed mindset, again, just to emphasize, you believe that you're born this way. You're either smart or not smart, you're talented or you're not talented, and there's just not much you can do. So if you have a fixed mindset, you perceive failure and effort as bad things because you're not smart enough and talented enough, because you have to work hard for things. On the other hand, growth mindset is an alive turtle, an alive and swimming turtle. You believe that you can cultivate what you're born with. You can grow and improve with effort and a continuous desire to learn. So for you, if you have a growth mindset, you perceive failure and effort as things that you shouldn't be ashamed of. Instead, failure and effort are what actually makes you smart and talented, because you recognize that you can get better as you learn from failure and as you put in hard work and as you practice. So both turtles are pretty, but I don't know about you, but I want to be an alive turtle and not a turtle carved in stone. So I think if there's any from this talk, I just want us to remember that the most important thing is not to view life as either you're a success or a failure. It's not really about success. It's not really about being successful or a failure. And it's really more about cultivating a desire to learn, cultivating an attitude of wanting to learn, and really wanting to grow as a person, whether that's through school or through the things that you learn in life. When you enter a mindset, you enter a new world. So in the world of fixed traits, success is about proving that you're smart and talented. But in the other world, in the world of a growth mindset, it's about learning. It's about stretching yourself to learn something new, developing yourself, and believing that you are never too smart or too dumb to learn something new and to improve yourself. So I guess my main thing is I encourage you to go after what's challenging, what will make you grow, and not what will make you look smart. Because often what will make you look smart or talented is also often the safe, less risky path that will really ultimately not stretch you so much. Struggling is not shameful. Putting in hard work and effort does not mean you're less smart or less talented. Work very hard and give your best, and always remember that it's your continuous desire to learn, not your successes or failures, your good grades or bad grades, that will shape the core of who you are. I will close with sharing a personal story, and I will show my face. Hi, I'm Denise. So I share that because learning how to adopt a growth mindset has really helped me in my personal life. I'm kind of nerdy. My hobby has always been reading. When I was in high school, things came quite easily for me because I enjoyed school a lot. I never really had to study to get good grades except for math. No matter how much I studied, I could never get anywhere close to 90. Like 85 I was really happy with 85, but then that 85 always took like weeks and weeks and weeks of like working hard, and then my classmates were just like chilling, you know? So for the longest time, I believed that I just wasn't good at math, not naturally smart or talented. I was like, this is my fate. I just suck at math. And so I just accept this. Then came college. I knew that I wanted to avoid math as much as I could, now that I could pick my own classes. So then I signed up to take a college level math test that if I passed would mean that I would waive my math prerequisites. If I passed this test, I would never have to take math again. So the summer before my first year of college, I spent hours each week for months studying for that test. I even went back to my old high school after I had graduated to ask my math teacher to help me. So he tutored me. And so I was there for the summer, like maybe 3 hours every day just to pass this test. When I finally took the test, in my first year in college, I failed the test. So I had to take college statistics to fulfill my math requirements. It was very hard. But at this point, I had failed both literally and figuratively enough times already especially in math, that I'd learned not to let my grades define me anymore, and it made my life so much better. And to my utter surprise, I finally got a good grade. Not like 90%, but good enough to make me not take another math class, which I was very happy about. So I share this to say that not being good at math and having to work really hard all those years to often still not get good grades, good math grades, now that I look back at it, has really shaped so much of my character without me even being aware of it. Because I knew that I was in no way a genius and always had to work very hard for some things in my life, I never could pretend that whatever I achieved came because I was just naturally really smart or talented. I often struggled, and I still do now, even after 10 plus years of school. But it was and is because of the challenges that I've become someone who likes to try things, even if there's no guarantee of success. One of the biggest ways that I've learned, that I've grown as a person, I think, is really being less afraid of failure, and not really only pursuing things that are safe or that will guarantee me success. And so I encourage you to really adopt this growth mindset, because it will take you far in life. Thank you for having me. Also, if you have questions, please ask. My whole thing was in English, pero makasabot ko og Bisaya. So please ask questions, and thank you so much for having me here.
All right. Thank you so much for that one, Ma'am Denise. And later on, we're going to be having a question and answer portion. So if you have questions to our first speaker, Ma'am Denise, we are more than willing to answer that one. So thank you so much
Sir
for that one.
Dwight,
Yes,
Sir
ma'am.
Dwight, Mom Denise has a class at
Oh,
5, so she
I
has
see.
to take the questions now.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
all right. Thank you so much for that one, ma'am. Anyways, for those students who want to ask, and to Ma'am Denise, you can now throw in your question. I know that a lot of you are really struggling right now. I know that a lot of you wanted to know more about the topic that Ma'am Denise has discussed a while ago. So it's your time to learn from our speaker for today. We have 73 participants, so I believe that you class has questions. Go ahead. From Cecilia Santander. Yes, ma'am. Question.
Yes, ma'am. Please feel free to talk lang or chat the question. Okay, so the question is from Maria Cecilia. What do you think should the students do in effective online classroom interaction? Great question. Based on my brief experience as a teacher, teaching online, one of the best ways to engage effectively in an online classroom setting is to really do the assigned work. So if your teacher assigns you the readings, or if the teacher asks you to do the seat work, the quiz, it's really one of the best ways to learn online is to really do what they've assigned. Also to show up for classes if you have synchronous classes. What else? I think also, and to do your own research. So say you don't understand something and you can't immediately ask your teacher, try to do your own research, and then maybe email your teacher privately. I know from my experience, whenever students emailed me with a question, I really did not see that as something extra for me to do. Instead, I was really happy that students were asking, students were interested in learning more. And also I took that as I took that as like affirmation that they were actually looking at what I was posting, and were wanting to learn. So yeah, really, I know accountability is parang harder, especially when you don't see your teachers every day, but it will really serve you if you read everything that they post, try to really do the lessons, and ask them. I'm sure they're happy to address your questions. Any other questions? Or you can also just share about how online class is going.
Mom says, go ahead if you have.
We have one more question from Maria Cecilia. Yes, it's okay to ask one more. Effective stress management techniques for the students, please. Personally, I have been trying to be consistent with exercising, because with online classes, there's a lot of staring at the screen and a lot of sitting down more than usual, I think. And so personally, I try to work out. Also, stress management. I think try to find something you enjoy doing. So I mentioned earlier that I really enjoy reading. And so I try to read every day, something that's not related to class at all. And then if you enjoy watching TV or if you enjoy playing games, then set aside time to do that, so that you're not always thinking about your next class or how to comply with this requirement. Yeah, it's important to also prioritize self-care. And if you care for yourself best through doing things that you enjoy, then you should not feel guilty. A question from Eduardo Milandaga. What to do, ma'am, if you are that kind of person who goes outside to de-stress? I think that's really good. For as long as you observe social distancing. By going outside, do you mean parang going outside for a walk or a run? Is it going outside to hang out with friends? Okay, I will just answer. I will just assume that this is going outside to Eduardo. Going outside to hang out with friends. I mean, it depends on how cautious you are as a person. I think now it's really hard to encourage people to parang keep going out with friends because we're supposed to be observing social distancing during the time of COVID. But there are ways to hang out with friends, even if you don't see each other physically. So, for example, with my law school, we have a study group. And what we do is we just get on Zoom and we mute the audio, but we still show our faces. And so it seems like we're studying together, even if we're not talking to each other. And then sometimes we take a break and we talk to each other or we ask each other questions. But that's a way that I hang out with friends, but without doing it physically. So personally, I am kind of cautious. Yes, staying social online. I agree with Mom Cecilia. So I try to find ways to hang out with people online, or like we have a group chat and we keep it active, so that we're not talking about school only. We're also encouraging each other outside of academic stuff. Yes, you are welcome. Thank you for the question. How to be a good English speaker from Arjim Banuelos. I would say read. Good writers. They say that good writers are readers first, and good writers are usually also can be good speakers. So I think if you want to improve as a speaker, it's really good to read and then also practice writing and then speaking. Also, I think like watching TV is really helpful for that. It helps you just like listen in on other people's conversations. You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions that you would love to throw to Ma'am Denise? We have 79 participants. I believe that you guys has a lot of questions. So comment down below as to what are your questions. We have from Kriza Ma'am.
So we have a question from Kriza. Thank you, Kriza, for your question. Can you recommend a book that can help us cope with a new normal? Yes, actually, I read this every day. It's not really a book. It's more like wisdom things. It's just right here. It's called The Daily Stoic, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living. So it's really short. If you do parang daily devotionals, it's very similar to it, but it's not biblical. It's just like wisdom from old thinkers in the past. So yeah, I recommend this book. It's really good. This month, they are talking about the importance of developing a strong will. And it's talking about how to persevere through challenges. So it's just a very short read every day. If you find the book, I recommend it. It's good. But I also am someone who reads a lot of fiction. There is another question. But yes, this is a good book. Also, this is not a book, but if you're on Instagram, I follow this, wait, I'll type it's a chat box. Mari Andrew is an artist and a poet and also a writer. And she has a lot of very inspirational things that has helped me gain perspective during this pandemic. Also, this person is also on Instagram. She is a poet and a writer, and I like her content. Morgan Harper Nichols. The other one is Mari Andrew. The other one is Morgan Harper Nichols. They're both poets and writers, and they have really nice content on Instagram. Another question from Eduardo. I tried everything to motivate myself, like learning guitar, writing stories, and even dance, draw, but why do I still feel unmotivated? I think it could be the time. Like, it's just a very hard time. And I think we don't talk enough about how like learning in the midst of a pandemic and adjusting to all these new things is actually really hard, but something we still have to do. So I would say don't be hard on yourself. And you're really trying, you're showing up to class, you're showing up to even this webinar that you don't have yet, that I'm sure you did not have to be in. You are doing a good job already. And it just is a hard time in general because of the pandemic. So don't be so hard on yourself, Eduardo. You're doing a good job. A question from Vera Suzette Sakian. I'm the type of person who wants to grow and to learn more, but my family expects me to have a fixed perspective in life. But if I ever fail, I would end up a disappointment to them. I just want to know what I should do about this. This is really good. This is a really good question. I think, I think especially if you grew up in a family where the focus is on perfection and really getting good grades all the time, and if your family like pushes you to strive to be the best, I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think sometimes we forget that there is more to life than getting good grades. There is more to life than being quote unquote successful in terms of how the world defines success, which is like typically graduating with high honors and then going to get like a really good job, being really stable. That's usually kind of like the script of what success looks like. But I think like what I said earlier, it's important to really define what your personal values are and what success looks like for you. And not to be disrespectful towards your family, but to also learn that your family is not you. You are who you are, and your family is really important, and they have an influence in your life. And there's a lot of reason to be grateful for them. But at the end of the day, God created you to be uniquely who you are, with your own gifts and skills and abilities. And it's really important to strive for the things that are important to you. And hopefully in the process, be able to show your family that you are succeeding in ways that matter to you. And you are giving your best for the life that you hope to have for yourself. Because at the end of the day, this is your life, and you have to live with the consequences of your choices. So if you just keep following your family blindly, you might resent them. So yeah, I think you have a really good heart, Vera. You are wanting to learn and grow, at the same time wanting to also respect and show gratitude to your family. How can we manage, from Diana Sapsal, how can we manage family stress during online classes? Family stress is real, especially if you live with your family. But I think one way to manage it is to set up a really good schedule, and to also communicate well with your family that, like, for example, from 8 to 10, you have classes. And hopefully the things that they want you to do, like your chores, for example, hopefully they can just let you do that after your classes. But in order for them to know that, you have to communicate well, communicate clearly and well to them, and also kind of be clear about your schedule so that there's less tension in your house. But yeah, family stress is real during this time because more people are spending time at home more than usual. But yeah, it is worth it to try to set clear boundaries and to communicate clearly but respectfully with your family that one of your priorities right now is to do well in class. And that means that they also have to support you in this new academic setting that's now online.
All right, thank you so much for that one, ma'am. I guess we are going to be entertaining one last question for Ma'am Denise. It's because she's going to be preparing for her online class as well. So one last question from you, class. Anyone who wants to throw in their question? From Diaz, last question, Ma'am Denise.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question, Van. How do you fight negativity during these pandemic ever since online classes have started, I've been having negative thoughts and sadness because of my past traumas and family problems. I'm trying to be positive as always, but I always feel down. What should I do? This is really real. I think, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I think we've transitioned as a society, just in general, very quickly towards like, let's adapt, let's adjust to the new normal without spending enough time kind of like acknowledging how difficult the transition is for a lot of people. And there even has been studies that like, because of the lockdown, the number of like domestic violence, tensions within homes has increased. There's a lot of, as much as there's been a lot of good because of the pandemic, there's also a lot of hard things that are coming up as a result of it. I don't know, I've no specific answer to your problem. How do you fight negativity? But I think that, like I said, like we mentioned earlier, I think it's, one, it's really good that you are acknowledging that it is hard to be positive during this time. So I think a way to move forward is to identify what brings you joy, and what things help you de-stress, and spending more time doing those things, having a really good schedule so that you are not overwhelmed by the amount of work you have to do. And also, if you are someone who values your relationship with God, then it's praying, and also having a good support system. So finding one or two good people in your life who you can be really honest with, so that you can share and not have to keep everything inside and just repress things. But yeah, it's very hard. Yeah, I think it's a hard time. Everyone is adjusting, and we don't talk enough about how hard it is, because we all also want to be adjusting and moving forward. But yeah, I want to affirm that it's hard to be positive, and that's very normal. So last two questions from Jerwin Ebaliar. How to conquer drowsiness, especially in long discussions in Google Meet. This is very real. I think you should drink coffee. But also, if you really can't help it, if your phone can record the lecture, then try recording the lecture. Also, if your professor allows you to record the lecture, record it, because sometimes you just cannot help but sleep. And try to get enough hours of sleep so you can tackle class well rested every day. In addition to makasakit ng tiyan ang magkape, just get like good quality sleep. Try to get good quality sleep. So one last question, in addition to family stress, yes, that's true. Just want to read Mom Cecilia's comment. I think you have to encourage open communication, address concerns and do not avoid it. Be sure that you acknowledge your family's feelings. You should really listen well with each other. Talks are important. That is true. So many of our problems can be avoided with clear, honest, and loving communication, where you don't attack each other, but you just share kind of how you feel and how you want to address the tension, so that it improves, so that your family life improves, especially now that you have to spend so much more time with each other. That's very true. Thank you, Mom Cecilia, for that tip. Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed interacting with you, even if I can only see your static pictures. I can send my slides to Sir Dwight. So if you want a copy of the slides, I will be sure to send it to him. And I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this talk. I hope that you learned a lot. I definitely enjoyed interacting with you and kind of sharing my personal, thank you. Just sharing like my personal journey, both as a teacher and a student. It's hard, but we can do this, and you have a very strong support system within ISAT.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Denise, and thank you so much to all of the students who really asked questions. But before we end this webinar with Ma'am Denise, of course, I would just like to present the certificate of appreciation. This will be sent to you, ma'am, after this. This certificate is awarded to Denise Garcia for sharing her invaluable experience and expertise as a speaker on Online Class Blues webinar for ISET students, given the 7th day of September 2020 at Davao City, Philippines. With that being said, ma'am Denise, thank you so much for giving us your time, and thank you so much for answering all of your questions. Indeed, that was very helpful. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Ma'am Denise.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye,
God bless
ma'am.
you
And
in your
Bye. Thank
classes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
guys.
all right. Wow. That was just our first speaker. Imagine, class. We really learned a lot from our speakers. And just to remind everyone that we're going to be having a lot of webinars next month on the month of October and a month of November. So please tune in, and we will make sure that you will learn a lot from our speakers, from the speakers that we have invited. Anyway, just to share, Ma'am Denise Garcia really reminds me of Joyce Spring from podcast. If you want to listen to her, she's also a good speaker. And always remember your internal monologue. Remember this, that nobody learns without getting it wrong. So just keep pushing yourselves, guys, and just believe in yourselves. All right. So moving on to our next speaker. Our next speaker, she is a CPA and a graduate from the Ateneo de Davao University last 2015. At present, she is Utility Economics Officer of Surigao del Sur 1 Electric Cooperative Incorporated, or Surseco 1 in Bislig City. And at the same time, she's a first year MBA student in Ateneo de Davao University. Our second speaker, we have Miss Elika Shua A. Sumampong. Ma'am, good afternoon. And while Ma'am Elika is still preparing her slides, I believe that she is currently um, making sure that everything is fixed. And anyway, just to give you an update, that Mom Denise was able to send the copy of her slides, and I will be asking a permission to post it maybe on our website, or um, we'll be emailing that one to your student email. So do we have Mom Alika? And while waiting for Ma'am, I know that you guys a lot have your internal monologue. And I know that you just need to remind yourself, even though we are adopting to this new normal right now, that everyone really is struggling with online class, but always remember that we can do this. We can really surpass all these struggles and challenges that we are having right now and time. So yeah, laban lang. Abi pa lang week. So let's push ourselves, and of course pray to God. And anyway, thank you so much for all of our students who really took time to be part of this webinar. I know that you, class, will be able to learn a lot from this webinar. So, Ma'am Alika, if you're here, the floor is yours.
Sir Dwight, she's just rebooting her computer. So
All
let's
right.
just give her a few more minutes.
Sure, not a problem, ma'am. Anyway, I will just like to take this opportunity to promote as well the webinar that we're going to be having next month. We are going to be talking about some mental health issues, making sure that we are keeping ourselves sane in this pandemic. And also, I would just like to take this chance to say thank you to all of the students who participate in our donation drive, who shared our poster, and making sure that we're going to be able to accumulate money for the students from UBO. All right. So I guess we have Ma'am Elika right now. Ma'am Elika, take it away.
Hello?
Yes, you
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you,
me?
ma'am.
Sorry. Sorry for the interruption. It says I was using the computer and then it says here that my mic wasn't working. So I guess you can hear me now loud and clear.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
hello, good afternoon, everyone. So I am currently at an empty room in our building because I am still in the office. So I just would like to thank Ma'am Myra or Attorney Myra. I am so honored to be invited by her as one of your resource speakers for today's event. So
Ma'am
I am her.
Elika,
Yes, ma'am.
uh, your picture is sideways. Uh,
Sorry, sorry, ma'am. Wait. Actually, I'm having a hard. I'm using my phone right now because
uh,
the the mic in the laptop is not working. So how about that one, ma'am? Is it okay?
Still, turn
Okay.
90 degrees. Yes, that's it.
Wait.
Thank
So sorry.
you.
I guess I'll just hold this one. Okay. So, okay na, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Um, okay, going back, I am so honored to be invited by Ma'am Myra as one of your resource speakers for today's event. I am her classmate from the Ateneo's MBA program, and I admire her so much, and I'm learning a lot from her. That is why when she messaged me about this, I was really doubtful. Not of her intentions, but I was asking why me. But then she explained, and after a little while, I said yes, and so here I am. So I was informed of the topics that the students wanted to hear about and the issues regarding the new normal education or the online learning. So you see, we are experiencing the same thing right now. I can really relate with you. Being a student in this time is really challenging. We are all adjusting. I just would like to share with you how I am dealing with everything that's going on right now. I am no expert, but maybe you could find a thing or two from my experience which might be helpful to you. So I have been employed at Surigao del Sur 1 Electric Cooperative Incorporated or Surseco 1 for 4 years now, and actually this is also my first job. So it was only on July when I finally thought of going back to school. The first thing that really encouraged me to enroll was the school's offer of a 100% online class for the first semester. Davao is a 4-hour ride from our place, so it is really convenient for me. I would be able to save money and time. At first, I thought it would be easy, but after the first meeting, and then my teachers gave me the requirements and expectations from us, I knew I was putting myself in a big trouble. Work, school, part-time job, family, church ministry. How am I going to handle everything? So my week, just to give you a background of what my week looks like. So every Monday through Friday, I go to the office from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I'm a regular employee, and we are not working from home since we are already under the modified general community quarantine, and we also belong to the essential services, so our operations were not halted. My class schedule begins, MBA class begins every Friday night and the whole day of Saturday. So every Monday also, I have a meeting with my discipleship group. It's a Bible study session for young adults. And on Thursdays, I have my part-time job. So what kind of job is it? Is that? I teach accounting at Andres Soriano Colleges of Bislig here in our place. And on Sundays, my whole morning is spent at church since we are already allowed to have a face-to-face fellowship. Other days are spent for school requirements and doing household chores. Now that I think about it, I think I kind of have a hectic schedule. Para artista lang. A lot of people ask why I'm working so hard when I'm still single and got no kids to feed. But I don't really think much about it since I love everything that I'm doing. To be honest, I'm so blessed with my life right now that I don't even have the time to complain. Okay, so going back to the topic, so let me share with you some practical tips I discovered and learned throughout the years, which are still working for me these days. I divided it into three areas that were suggested by your SSC president, Mr. Ayala. So, number one, in the area of time management and priority setting. So have you ever heard of the saying, no one is too busy, it's just a matter of priorities? This is so true. I learned the art of setting priorities the hard way. When I was still in college, when I had so much time to study, I watched movies, Korean dramas, chatted with friends through social media, and etc., only to find out that it's already evening and I haven't even turned a page of my accounting book. So the following day, exam day, I failed. So did I learn my lesson right away? No. In fact, there was a cycle of regretting it but still not changing my bad habits. So when did I realize that my bad habits were not doing anything good to myself? During my formal review for the CPA board exam, my bad habits continued. In fact, I became more lax since there were no teachers who will nag about studying and etc. And neither of my outputs were graded. So during the formal review, you are just given series of tests. So it's all on your own whether you are going to answer that or not. No one's gonna grade you. So I wasn't that pressured to study or even finish a single set of problems. So come October 2015, the exam lasted for 2 weekends. I got my result after a week, and guess what? Yes, you were right. I got a conditional status, meaning I got 4 out of 7 subjects below the 75% mark. In short, I failed to get that CPA title. So what did I do? Nothing. I just cried endlessly. I regretted a lot. I blamed myself a lot. If only I had done this and that. It was too late. Indeed, God has his own ways of teaching us. He breaks us into pieces to teach us a lesson. He would allow those unfortunate events to happen so that we would become better. I became better. I immediately reapplied for review school, took the board exam for the second time, and on May 2016, I finally got that CPA title. I learned how to set my priorities then. Even now, I can say that I still lack a lot in priority setting, but I know I'm better than I was in my college years. So how to effectively manage your time? So we all have 24 hours a day, right? So one simple formula I learned from my college teacher is that is the 8-8-8. So it means 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours for leisure activity. In an online class setup, I believe dividing the time is more doable since you are all staying home and a lot of time is saved without commuting and other extracurricular activities. It is also very important to have a class schedule so that you don't miss any of your classes. And another tip for time management is to have a checklist of all the things that you have to do before starting your day. And you can also prepare this the night before and rank it according to urgency or priority. In that way, you can immediately start your day and not wasted thinking of what to do first. So, diba, sometimes when we haven't prepared what to do for that day, we will still ask ourselves what is the first thing to do. So if you already have the checklist, there is no time to waste thinking about that. And number two, in the area of discipline and focus. So admittedly, I am not the most disciplined person ever. So I break rules for my own convenience. But this is something that I have been working out in myself, knowing that the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. 5 or 10 years from now, I don't want to look back and regret the things I did or did not just to satisfy my temporary happiness. In an online class setup, the biggest struggle is finding your focus, especially that there are a lot of distractions online. So you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, online games, and many more. When I was reviewing for the board exam, I deactivated all of my social media accounts and I also deleted the apps so that I won't ever get distracted. You see, when someone says, I will only check Facebook for 5 minutes, don't believe them. It will go on for so long as you can remember, and hey, that someone is me. You find a lot of interesting things online that you forget you've already spent an hour on unnecessary things. My Facebook and Twitter accounts are still deactivated up to this day. I already learned to live without them. I'm not saying that you should do the same, but if there comes a time when you get so addicted with something that it consumes you already, then maybe it's time for you to cut it off. Then your life would be so much better. Aside from online distractions, staying home could also lose our focus. So I suggest during online class, stay away from your bed or you might fall asleep. Find a place in your house where there are no people passing or there's little or no distraction at all. You can also put up a sign saying, "Do not disturb," ongoing online class, or class going on. It will also help your classmates focus because you see when the videos are turned on and then you can see in your classmates video that there are people passing at their back, so you might also get distracted. So, and also avoid procrastination. They say that procrastination brings good results and it works wonders. But, well, this might work for others, but I say a good preparation brings out the best result. Plus, if it's less stressful. When we cram, we can think properly and the output would only be mediocre. In order to do this, when a teacher assigns something, a homework, or a critic paper, or written case analysis in my case, do it as early as possible. Cramming is not really possible for me since I have a lot to do for my other commitments. So I schedule all the things that I have to do, and in that way I can still sleep in peace and wake up with not so big eye bags. And number three, in the area of health reminders. One thing that we learned from this pandemic is the importance of our health. Well, in this quarantine period, let us all be healthy so that when this is all over, we can reunite with our loved ones, friends, and classmates. Don't we all miss the old normal? Also, I want to briefly discuss about the mental health. Um, I'm not that I'm not an expert. I don't know much about it, but I just want you to always look out for each other. We know that we can't be with each other physically, but let us give time to contact our classmates who might be having a hard time coping with the situation. This is also a great time to be with our families and find support in them. They have always been and always will be our greatest support system. And other tips or other reminders, since it would be impossible to go to the school library this time, you can check out YouTube videos to complement the lectures. And if you could invest in a good headset or earphones to clearly hear what your teacher says. And finally, find the best internet connection you can afford. But if the network in your place is really unstable, you can message your teacher for the points you missed. I have a classmate who, in MBA, who chats his answers during recitation since he can't be clearly heard due to the bad internet connection. Lastly, always start your day with a prayer and end it also with a prayer, acknowledging that we have a God who sustains and loves us. So, so that's it. All the things you are experiencing right now is just passing. When we are in this period, let's continue to do our best as we are doing it for God's glory and not to please other people. This gives me hope and peace always. And thank you all for listening. God bless you.
Thank you so much for the one, Ma'am Elika. And yes, indeed, we really have to be disciplined and stop procrastinating things. So, question and answer portion for you, class. If you have questions for Ma'am Elika would be more than willing to answer all of those questions or tips that you would love to get from our speaker for today.
I think they have already asked all the questions in the previous speaker.
Do not be shy, class. I know that maybe you're still shy, but come on, throw on your questions. Anyway, well, others are still. We have from Ma'am Cecilia, Ma'am Alika?
Okay, from Mom Cecilia. Hi, Mom. As an online student, what are your personal challenges and how are you dealing with these challenges? So, I think I'd go back to the first area, which is the time management. Um, the online class, although we don't meet every week, but we are given tasks to submit every week also. So I'm really having a hard time in answering, especially in one of our subjects, wherein we are going to really read the chapter because we cannot answer if we are not going to read the chapter, and I barely have time for that. So what I do, like for example, in our statistics, um, I also got this tip from my other classmates. I check YouTube videos about the topic, and then I also get a lot of help from Google, Mr. Google, and then because it is shortened as compared to reading the book when I really don't have that much time. So I check other resources for the topic, and I just answer it by the way I understand it. And luckily also our teacher, we have online conference. So she pointed out our mistakes, and then she taught us how to do it correctly. So I think it helps.
Thank you so much for that one, Ma'am Alika. We have another question from John, ma'am.
From Sir, from Sir John. Good afternoon po, ma'am. Do you have any tips for case analysis assignments po? Case analysis assignments. So we had one written case analysis for uh, our ethics class. So what I did is that I followed, there was a format given. You really have to read the whole article because you will not be able to answer it if you won't read the article. And then you try to search. Actually, there are already, for famous cases, there are already written case analysis online. But I don't suggest that you copy everything. You just get an idea from there, and then you also incorporate what you have understood about the case. So no to plagiarism.
Any other questions from our 7 to 9 participants?
Okay. From Mom Cecilia, how do you stay motivated, Mom, with the online classes? Okay. How do I stay motivated? Yeah, despite the pressures, I always I like what Mom Denise stated earlier, that it's not about the grades. Because before, when I was still in college or high school, I am so competitive. Like, I really have to attain a certain score, or if not, I get devastated. But right now, my motivation is more on learning. So it really helps because I don't care that much already about my score or my grades, but I am more looking forward to what I will be learning. And I think it really helps because you don't beat yourself if you don't get a certain score because you are for the learning and not for the grade. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Any other questions from our students? While others are still formulating their questions now, I would just like to go back to what Ma'am Alika has mentioned a while ago, that her classmate is parang you can chat your answers instead of really leaving, like for example tinawag ka ng professor then biglang nawala or whatnot. So yun, you can chat your answers, and that way your professors would know that I'm having some issues with my mic or with my internet. So can I just type it down instead of really not answering at all and just putting yourself on mute. So that would be a sign of respect as well to your teacher, that you can chat, you can just comment down your answers on the chat box. That's the, I guess, main purpose of chat box, for you to really provide your inputs, especially if you're having some mic issues or internet issues. Thank you
Yes,
for that one, Matt.
yes, that's correct, sir. Because once you type your answer, the teacher will just read your answer out loud. So don't be shy. And I think, as what Sir Dwight said, it's really respectful if you do it that way, instead of muting or leaving the meeting.
Yes. Another input that I really got from Alika a while ago, checklist is a great help. I know that a lot of you are really having a lot of activities, quizzes. Checklist is of great help. So you can start doing your checklist, especially today is Monday. You can um check if unsa ang urgent and whatnot. So yun. Any other questions from our students? Tips that you would love to know, and things that you would love to hear from our speaker? Or before I forgot, also got this input from Elika a while ago, that when she was reviewing during her CPA board exam, she was telling us na parang she was not giving it her best, and parang somehow giving out mediocre type of study habits and whatnot. So for those students who are doing that one and always saying na let fate takes its course, bahala na si Baton, bahala na kung sino man dyan, you have to understand that we have to as well um, give extra efforts. If you want to really gain something, then we have to push ourselves for that. Like what Ma'am Alika did, she really pushed herself, and look at her now. She's a CPA board passer, right? So, if you guys don't have any questions, I will. We have one.
From Mom Cecilia, I read this in the newsnews.com. These can help us to stay motivated. When you don't see your home as a space of work, it's kind of a struggle to get in that mindset. Says Emily Efren, a senior at Texas Tech University, majoring in journalism as well. Yeah, that's true. So since we are really, most of us are staying home, studying from home, working from home, then we need to have that kind of mindset that this is my school, this is my office, even if it's just in your home. So that is why I also suggested that you find a place in your house, just a small space where that could separate you from your house and from your office. That when you step into that space, you can say that I'm already in this school, so that there is a shift of your mindset. Thank you, ma'am, for that.
Thank you. So, students, if you have questions, going once, going twice, anyone who would love to raise their questions, we have another input from Ma'am Cecilia.
Okay, let me read it for you. In addition to creating a daily schedule and finding a productive workspace, it can also help to simply focus on the ultimate goal. At the end of the day, look back on the day and check mark off all of those items that you've completed, knowing that you did well to motivate you as well. Staying in touch with classmates, in addition to reaching out to faculty or academic staff as needed, can also help motivate students.
Exactly. I would totally agree to that one, ma'am, as well. So, I guess if you don't have any questions, I would just like to grab this opportunity to say thank you to Ma'am Elika Shua Sumampong. And with that being said, I would just like to present to you the certificate. I will be sending this one after the webinar, ma'am. Certificate of appreciation is this certificate is awarded to Elika Shua A. Sumampong, CPA, for sharing her invaluable experience and expertise as a speaker on Online Class Blues webinar for ASET students of this institution, given the 7th day of September 2020 at Davao City, Philippines. Signatories Attorney Myra Anwi Tejeo, President, Dwight Dave P. Quino, your Head of Student Affairs. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, Alika, for
Thank you,
giving
sir.
inputs and for helping us really to cope with the online class blues. I know that a lot of students are struggling. I know that a lot of students would feel motivated after this webinar. And I hope that tomorrow, as we start a new day, we will be having an extra push to really give our best in everything that we do, especially with our online class. So that gives us our final word from our president, Attorney Myra Anwi Tejeo. Ma'am, for your closing remarks.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for that, Ma'am Elika. And yes, Ma'am Elika is my classmate. I enrolled
Thank you, ma'am.
online, so I'm having this online blues with you as well. So today, I'd like to end today's talk by sharing with you a simple. Okay, how do I do this? Ma'am Elika, I think you have to stop sharing your slide or. Okay. Okay. All right. You can see that, I hope. All right. Online class blues. So today's topic is about how to cope with your online class. You know, your request for this topic on how to deal with the online class environment is something that many students are really struggling with. And let's face it, there are many challenges that we find ourselves in this unique environment. 1 year ago, who would have thought this would be the case? Did anyone prepare for this? Maybe, but not certainly the majority of schools or parents or students or even the government. But it's here to stay for now. And we don't know for how long. Once we realize that these are issues with there are issues with the online environment, we need to decide if we will tackle it or we will surrender to it. And I must congratulate all of you, brave souls, because you have already shown that you will overcome this crisis when you enrolled. You knew this was going to be an online semester, and yet you chose to be challenged by it. Now that you are here, how do we face the issues? The two speakers were chosen because they too face the same struggles. As you know, they are also students. They are not experts because during times like this, no one can rightly say that he is an expert to solve these problems. And these problems are not going to be solved. They are just going to have to be managed. You know, children seek to solve and find absolute answers. That's why they ask a million questions until they are satisfied. You know, kulit. But there are many issues in life that won't be solved by a simple solution. They, however, can be managed. And I hope you heard of how the speakers were able to manage. And hopefully, their stories will encourage you to seek ways to manage your situation, because not all situations are alike. You know, before we close, I would like to share with you some thoughts about this situation, and hopefully it will help you along as well. So let's go back. Let's start with why. Actually, this Start with Why is a title of a book by Simon Sinek. If you want to get inspired, listen to him in YouTube. There's a lot of videos by him, Simon Sinek. So why are you studying? There are several goals to you studying and completing your course, and it could be grades. It could be to please your parents. It could be to escape punishment. It could be to fulfill society's expectation that everyone should have a degree. It could be to have higher status in society. It could be for better chances of employment. It could be for better chances of finding a good life partner. It could be to add title to your name. You know, all these motivations are not bad, but if you look at all this, it's only the last, it's because you love to learn. It is this one that is something you do, you learn because for the love of learning itself, you know, for that main purpose. And all this motivation, some of it might not be fulfilled, you know, just like what Denise was telling us earlier. She used to be devastated if she didn't get good grades. No, so if we base our objective in learning on things that could not be, there's a chance of you not achieving it. You know, it could be after you graduate, you can't find a good job. No, so what I'm saying is all the motivation that I've listed here are good, but you have to be realistic as well, because there's a chance that even with you finishing school, you might not find a good job, you might not find a good life partner. Some of you, that might be your motivation to finish school. And so what I'm saying is the only real true motivation for finishing school is because you love learning. And I know some of you are telling me, Mom, what do you mean love learning? But there is beauty in learning. But sometimes you don't get to enjoy the learning because you're still learning about the nuts and bolts. You know, there's this story written by C.S. Lewis, and he's saying that how can you enjoy Greek poetry when you're still struggling with the grammar? See? But the point of it is, if you go through the grammar, if you get the grammar, then you will see the beauty of Greek poetry. And the same with learning. There is beauty in learning. There's something that gets excited. I'm sure you find this as well. You know, when you see how things connect, you get excited because you learn something new. You know? So I hope you realize that, you know, you can enjoy learning. You can love to learn, right? And I guess what I'm saying is, especially in these challenging times, you know, you have to learn how to love to learn. Otherwise, the challenges are just too much. You know, there's really a lot of challenges out there with online learning. Next is, this is a few things that I've taken from the UNESCO website. What are the challenges of online education? First, you have discussed this, social isolation. We know that we need social interaction. It's part of being human. You need your relationships, friends. How do you counter social isolation? And Mom Denise has shared one very unique way, which I find weird, you know, studying online, like an online group study session with the mic on mute. So that's a way of solving the social isolation issue. Not really solving, I'm saying managing the social isolation issue. Because the point is, we know that's an issue. How do we tackle it? Okay. Second, challenges in measuring and validating learning, issues on fairness. This one deals with exams. You know, online exams are so hard to measure and validate. I have teachers coming to me saying that a lot of students are plagiarizing. No, that's one. And some are showing that there are traces or evidence that, you know, the answers are copied from another student. So there's an issue of fairness. That's something that we will have to manage as well. And I'm asking you, as a school, let's have integrity. As students, let's have integrity. Let's live with integrity. Let's learn on our own and answer our assignments and questions on our own. Especially plagiarism, don't plagiarize. think about the question and think about how you would answer the question. It's so much better, and you feel so much better when you know that the answers you submitted are yours. Okay, so I'm asking you, pleading with you that, have integrity, starting with doing your assignments and quizzes online. Do it on your own. And another issue that is very real, of course, is access to learning becomes variable. Internet disruption is a real issue, you know, and this again has to be managed, as what Ma'am Elika says, buy the best gadget or the best connection that you can afford. And I know that a lot of people have different levels of affordability, but consider that and go for what you can afford, because this is an issue. How do we manage it? That's another thing. But I am pleasantly amazed, because I have looked into some of the classes, the online classes, and a lot of you have submitted your work, and you have submitted them in a manner that almost equates to face-to-face assignments. So I thank you for that. Keep doing that, and we will finish this semester well. Okay, and this one, keeping standard is important. The standards during online is important. This is a news article that was just issued on August 5, and the title is "Unvetted E-Learning Materials May Lead to Diploma Mills." What is a diploma mill? A diploma mill is a school that doesn't care about learning, doesn't care about standards. They just issue you diplomas. We don't want to become a diploma mill. That's why we are maybe strict, maybe overly strict, but we do adjust, no? That we don't become a diploma mill. Because if ISAT diploma becomes a diploma mill, then your diploma will immediately become worthless, right? So do understand that we have to set standards, because we don't want ISAT to be a diploma mill, okay? And this one I want to share with you very quickly now, less than 5 minutes, I'll be done. I'll share with you the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is a tomato, no? There's this guy in Italy. He was studying, and he had a timer, and it was shaped in the shape of a tomato. And what he did is he devised this technique, which is very simple, to balance study and rest. So first, what he did was to plan the tasks that he has to do, and then divided his time between studying and rest, okay? So this is how he did it. Do one Pomodoro. One Pomodoro is 25 minutes, and then you go for a 5-minute break. In that 25 minutes, you have to protect your Pomodoro. You have to protect your time. Don't be distracted by anything, and you focus on your work. And after the first 25 minutes, you get to have a 5-minute break. Only 5 minutes, no? And no sneaky working, rest. And then after the 5-minute rest, you go for another Pomodoro. You go for another Pomodoro for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, another rest, and then another work for 25 minutes, another rest, and then 4 Pomodoros. After you have completed 4 Pomodoros, then you are allowed a longer break of 15 minutes. Okay, so this was his technique. And I tell you that if you are not motivated or you are procrastinating, this is a good way for you to get motivated. And this is a short All right. So we're back I'm back in the slide. And next is the power of checklists. Why do we do checklists? Checklist reduces stress because it frees up your mind. You know, you only have this finite mind. And if you still have to set aside a portion of your mind to think about what you need to do, then you're crowding your mind, right? So it frees up the mind from remembering the tasks that you need to do. And then it forces you to prioritize your task. You know, it reduces the risk of distraction because you know you have a list and you can easily see your progress. And neuroscience says that when you cross off an item on your checklist, your brain feels happy. Your brain is rewarded because dopamine is released. So it's true. There is proof to the power of checklists. So when you do your Pomodoro, start with a checklist. Start with what you need to do, and then you do your Pomodoro technique. And finally, embrace the future. But remember, you know, Proverbs 3, 5-6, always remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will make your path straight. You know, trust is very important. And where you put your trust on is doubly important. Put it on the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And when you trust, don't just put 50% of your trust. Put 100% of your trust in the Lord, you know, because it says with all your heart. And you know what? What is the promise? If we do this, he will make your path straight. Now, I'm not saying that that path means you will complete school. That doesn't mean that path will be something that you want, but rest assured, God will make your path straight, okay? So remember that. So with that, I thank you for joining this webinar. And I hope to see you again on the next webinar that the OSA will be organizing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Myra. Indeed, that was a great way to end as well this webinar. And before we totally end this one, just to remind you that on October 9 and on October 16, we are going to be having another 2 webinar series. So we will be posting posters for more details. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this Online Class Blues webinar. I hope that you learned a lot from this webinar and you will be able to apply that one as we progress in this new normal, which happens to be online class. Thank you again. Thank you to our president, Ma'am Myra. Thank you, Ma'am Cess, to our speaker, Ma'am Denise, Ma'am Elika, and to our students. Thank you so much. And again, this is Sir Dwight reminding everyone to please